warm welcome to today's Cabinet Committee briefing session on this wonderful Wednesday morning, the 15th of November, 2023. We are coming to you live and direct from the Government Information Center studios in the heart of the capital city, Windhoek. Now, Namibia, if you are tuning in for the first time today, this is a national platform that is initiated by the Government of the Republic of Namibia, emanating from the Government Communication Strategy that was rolled out earlier in October. Now, the platform is initiated to serve as conduit for transmitting information on government projects, programs, and policy formulation and advancement within the respective OMAs, that is, offices, ministries, and agencies. And the aim, of course, is to improve information dissemination across all government branches. For this morning, I am your host, Heleni Philippa Samuela, and I am delighted to introduce to you the Minister of Education, Arts and Culture, Honorable Esther Anangipondoka, to present to the Namibian nation her ministerial update. Honorable Minister, once again, good morning. You may step up the podium. Thank you, Honorable. You can proceed.
Thank you very much, NBC, Ministry of Information, and Heleni, who is here with us. Good morning, Namibia. As it was introduced already, it's our turn today as a Ministry of Education, Arts and Culture to share some crucial information with the nation, specifically some aspects that always invite a lot of questions from the people, and some other information that are related more to the preparedness of our ministry to the reopening of schools come 2024. To start with, the Ministry of Education, Arts and Culture derives its mandate from the Namibian Constitution, in particular, Article 20, which deals with education, and Article 19 and 21, which makes provision for arts and culture, from which we derive our name, Ministry of Education, Arts and Culture. The mandate and actions of the Ministry of Education, Arts and Culture are further inspired and guided by the National Vision Statement, Vision 2030, and the 5th National Development Plan. Moreover, the Education and Training Sector Improvement Program represents the education and training sector's response to the call of Vision 2030. Ladies and gentlemen, Namibian nation, as we close the academic year 2023, allow me then to give you a synopsis of some of the major activities carried out by our ministry throughout 2023 in an effort to change the educational fortunes of the Namibian child. In fact, whatever we have been doing this year was really to respond to some challenges and improve on some practices and improve efficiencies where we felt the efficiency was not forthcoming. To start with, as part of our effort to improve on the performance of our schools, all education directorates in Namibia were requested to craft and implement the Regional Performance Improvement Strategy starting this year, 2023. These were all presented at regional levels to the Minister and Deputy Minister, respectively. The implementation is ongoing, and the Regional Performance Improvement Strategies will be reviewed and updated each and every year to ensure continuous improvement of performance in our schools. And not only schools, also improvement of what we do at every level in the Ministry of Education, including the head office. Having said that, the Ministry of Education, Arts and Culture has been hard at work in 2023 to provide equitable education, as opposed to us always trying to provide education on an equal basis. To such an effect, the ministry has come up with specific equitable interventions aimed at addressing specific challenges experienced at schools with regard to the teaching and learning. Furthermore, Cabinet has approved the school grant policy, which still needs to be tabled in the National Assembly before it can be gazetted. The school funding remains an important issue in Namibia for several reasons. In the first place, it is the number of persistent educational historic inequities among schools and learners countrywide that negatively impact the performance of most learners. Secondly, the inequity in the distribution of financial resources among schools is in contention with our Constitution, which demands that all persons shall have the right to education as per Article 20. On average, 22% of the Namibians' annual government spending goes into the education sector, as we all know, which does not necessarily translate into the realization of the principle of equality, equity, efficiency, effectiveness, accountability, and transparency in pre-primary, primary, and secondary education. The main thing that happened also that have been informing our activities this year is the follow-up on the conference on education which we held in 2022. We have been working tirelessly on finalizing the implementation plan of the resolutions of the education conference in 2022. The need and desirability of this project, meaning now the IP project, stems from the outcome of the National Conference on Education, as I said, which in collaboration with stakeholders was hosted by the Ministry in 2022 under the theme Transforming Education Towards Inclusive and Quality in the Context of Global Challenges, Re-Imaging 2023 and Beyond. The conference identified critical education challenges and mapped out best practices to transform the education system in Namibia. Subsequently, 43 recommendations were passed for consideration by the government with the aim to transform the fortunes of both the basic and higher education sectors endeavors. It is anticipated that the full implementation of the plan will yield improved teaching and learning outcomes, with the majority of school leavers gaining access to tertiary education. Furthermore, implementation thereof will improve service delivery and strengthen the capacity of staff members to deliver on the mandate of education, which is to, and I quote, educate and train for sustainable national development and promote art and culture. That's quoted from the mandate of our ministry. The National Conference Education Implementation Plan, which I'm talking about, took effect from the financial year April 2023 and 2024 and is envisaged to run until March 2029-2030. Implementation will be staggered based on the nature of the recommendations, i.e., there will be short-term goals which are 2 years to be run within 2 years, medium-term goals for 4 years, and long-term goals for more than 4 years. The other thing that I need to bring to the attention of the nation is the issue of continuous professional development, which is mainly needed, especially when we have reached the higher levels of our implementation of the national curriculum, the formed curriculum. The National Institutes for Education Development, which is NIED, is responsible for continual professional development of especially our teachers to ensure continuous update of knowledge and skills to improve on teaching and learning. In ensuring that teaching and learning is done in line with the curriculum, trainer of trainers were trained by Cambridge subject specialists in several advanced subsidiary level subjects, i.e. biology, chemistry, business studies, and history, after which trainer of trainers rolled out the training to teachers in those subjects. The trainings are done by NIED, Program Quality Assurance, and the Directorate of National Examination and Assessment. Additionally, local facilitators did training in other subjects, both at Namibia Senior Secondary Certificate Ordinary and Namibia Senior Secondary certificate advanced level. The recommendations were presented to Cabinet, which consequently directed that the high-level National Conference on Education Task Force should be constituted and tasked to identify and prioritize key recommendations and propose an implementation plan. The task force was subsequently constituted and directed by Cabinet to oversee the implementation of the levers of change through respective technical committees. I'm just reminding that I'm still elaborating on the implementation plan of the education conference. The 42 recommendations were then prioritized and condensed into the following 10 key levers of change, meaning out of the 43, we looked at them thoroughly and we looked at those specific aspects of education where we know when we touch it, it will definitely has a ripple effect on all the other activities in education. Number one, inclusive quality education, which is addressing improved access to quality education. Number two, accelerated education infrastructure development. These ones we have already started, and we are going to talk more about this. The TVET curriculum review and strengthening, of course, this is to be done by both ministries, where the Ministry of Higher Education is looking into TVET after grade 11 or grade 12, while we are concentrating on the pre-vocational subjects that were introduced in our schools after the 2011 education conference. Number four, strengthen and expansion of family literacy program, which is the program educating parents on how to get involved in their children's learning. Number five, transform pre-service teacher education programs and continuous professional development for teachers to respond to curriculum demand in schools. This was provoked by the way and by the understanding and the discovery that many of our teachers graduating from institutions fails to cope with the reformed curriculum. That's why the Ministry of Higher Education is tasked to ensure that the pre-service of teachers is aligned. Professionalization of the teaching profession, which is to establish a teacher regulatory body, and we are busy with this one by developing a legal framework in order for us to bring our teachers' profession at a level where other professions are. The next is to unlock the potential for sustainable development for lifelong learning, arts and culture, and creative industries. This is really to enhance the creative and culture and creative industries, which we believe will make a lot of contribution to the GDP. And this is an area where, as a country, we believe we are not doing that well, and we really want to enhance these industries. Then the third last one is the expansion on digital learning and transformation. The world is moving into artificial intelligence, and we really need to improve on the ICT aspects of our schools. And then education funds for financing. Under this one, we are looking into different ways of financing education other than only relying on government, as we want to really work hard on expanding and transforming the education system. And the last one, education transformation through organizational development, where we are really looking at our structures and how they really respond to the mandate of the ministry, while also looking at the issue of efficiency, internal efficiency of the ministry, so that the money that we get really goes to teaching and learning and all the other programs. The above prioritized recommendations form the basis of scope for the 7 years that I've mentioned for the NCE implementation plan, which was approved by Cabinet with the directive that the Ministry of Finance and Public Enterprises, which is Treasury, and the National Planning Commission should identify possible funding avenues for the implementation of the implementation plan. So this is just to highlight that out of the national conference, things are moving and we are implementing what came from the input of different stakeholders who came to the conference. I've also talked already about the continuous professional development. This is continuously being done in order always to make sure that our teachers are helped to master the syllabus interpretation and their teaching practices. The fourth thing that I want to talk about, and this is very crucial, is the school grants. Since independence in 1990, the Namibian government has funded public education, while parents complemented government resources through the School Development Fund up to 2013 for primary education and 2016 for secondary education. In 2013 and 2016, respectively, the government assumed the full responsibility of funding primary and secondary education through universal primary and universal secondary education. These grants are used to address the basic education curriculum attainment issues, the individual learners, and the school needs, as well as the general school administration. And for this year, a budget allocated for schools grants was $184.9 million, and the funds allocated per region has been stipulated here. I don't think I will be able to go into the details of it, but it's broken down as it was distributed to school, but the total amount, it was 184.9 million. What we have noticed is that many schools do not operate on an academic cycle. When executing their budgets in order to have funds available at the schools at the beginning of the academic year. As we all know, the financial year, the budget is approved between around April, May. And this is the time that we start distributing the money to the schools. But then this money that we distribute, like this current year, is for the 2024 academic year. But you find that when the money arrives in the schools already start expanding on this money. By the time the academic year starts in January already, the schools don't have money because they expect to get this money again in January. Not knowing, or maybe, I don't know, forgetting that this money will only be availed again in the next financial year. That is why many schools are challenged at the beginning of the academic year because their funds have been depleted before the end of the financial year, which usually ends at the end of March each year. We are emphasizing that budget execution should encompass internal efficiency and get more done with available resources. Emphasis should be on prioritization and should also be in the best interest of the learners so that learners can be meaningful and rewarding. The learning can be meaningful and rewarding. Meaning now, the money that we distributed to the regions now this year are to purchase materials for the schools to be ready in January already. So that when the school reopens, the school have everything that they are supposed to have. Also, we have noted with great concern that some schools do not give financial accountability reports to parents. This is very serious. But instead choose to continue to demand contributions from parents without a report as to what government have given and what it was used for. And what shortages are there where parents might be required to contribute to those who can. This is worth emphasizing because I have made it clear when we met the directories, all 14 regions, myself and my DM, went to the regions, and we said, when you receive the money, purchase everything that you can do. Do not save this money. It's not for investment. It is for buying materials for children. Buy the materials, call the parents, parent meetings. Explain to the parents what is it that you received from government. How much materials did you buy? What is are those little things that you think parents might be required to add where you cannot you couldn't do it with the money that you received. And this is also done with caution because as per Education Act, it said voluntary contribution. We are not saying our parents, your hands are off. We are saying parents, demand for accountability reports from schools Because, of course, and this is true, the money is sent from the ministry through the regional offices to the schools to take care of school needs. If the parents are coming to you, demand to know, how much did you receive from the government? What have you done with the money? Why are we contributing, putting this? And if that explanation is given, we plead with our parents. We plead with our parents, those who can help our schools get involved in your children's education and make sure that quality education takes place with your own contribution in money and kind. Do what you can to assist, but only if accountability is given. What was done with the money that the government gave? I am emphasizing this one. We should all be accountable in our work and solicit for parental intervention after we have made parents to understand how we have spent the funds allocated to our schools by the government. Parental contributions and support is still very much needed, as I said, but it should be in consultation with the parents in order to meet the government halfway. Then we come to the key issue, stationary monies. I have already seen, and I want my directors to listen and please take this up, and schools. I have already seen, even in my own house, I have received lists already coming from schools of parents to buy stationaries. And we are saying, the ministry has budgeted 88.8 million for stationaries. These funds have been transferred to regional education directorates to purchase for schools or allow schools which are able to purchase their own materials. Allow me to emphasize on the speedy regional procurement of stationaries for schools in order to be well prepared to start the 2024 academic year. We want it to be clear. As the school reopens, we are not running with buying stationery unless there are clear explanations as to why these materials were not bought before the end of December. History has taught us that some regions have a chronic culture of delays in procurement, a culture which has a detrimental effect on educational outcomes and denies schools and learners opportunities owed to them in order to perform to the best of their ability. I would therefore like to urge the regional councils through the chief regional officers and directorates through their own directors to desist from such acts because it hampers the developmental and preparedness agenda of the schools. At this juncture, allow me to point out, that schools should be sensitive to the socio-economic spectrum of our parents and greatly shorten the usually long lists of stationaries requested from parents and requests for the bare essentials that the school would not be able to procure. For a parent to be asked to pay 7 reams of paper per child when you have got 10 children at home, 5 books, exercise books, all those big things. Buy everything big and maybe at least say, okay, the HB pencil, an eraser, a sharpener, parents, buy this. Not a 2-page list. And we have already received some of these ones. Also, stationery funds should be used to purchase strictly teaching and learning materials and not other things. Some schools, yes, we might need this, but maybe these are the things that you rather ask from the parents if they want to contribute air fresheners, many other things that are not necessarily required for teaching and learning in the classrooms. Concentrate first on your classroom and your cleaning materials from your grants, not luxury. The luxuries, the parents can contribute if they want. Textbooks. It should be noted that we have a textbook policy which guides schools on how to preserve books, ensuring durability of books. Thus, money allocated here every year is only to supplement books on the basis of the growing number of learners or to replace completely aged books. I am saying so because I know with the reform we have already arrived at AS. Last year already, we bought AS books. Every grade have got books now. We don't need to buy for the sake of curriculum change or whatever, but replacement. $40 million Namibian has been budgeted for textbooks, and the funds were transferred to regions starting in July 2023. Nonetheless, the regions have already started with the procurement process, and we hope that this process will be expedited with the speed and urgency it deserves, because textbooks are critical ingredients to the comprehension of subjects content by the learners. The ministry recognized, though, the challenges with textbook development in especially African languages due to lack of financial gains by publishers. Publishers are not really interested in developing African languages books because there are not that many, maybe. So we are struggling in that area. Also, the ministry continues to commit itself towards the attainment of the one-to-one learner-to-textbook ratio. Through these additions, we are making sure that we are moving towards that one. While we rely on the physical textbooks, we continuously encourage schools to reach out to NAMCOL in order to receive the training on Notes Master for teachers and learners. We know that we have got an online learning materials that have been developed by NAMCOL, and NAMCOL have got that online program that teachers and learners can use to access materials online. Equally, there are a multitude of supplementary online materials on the internet that schools should explore and take advantage of for the benefit of the Namibian child. Number 7, what was also supplied to schools? ICT in schools expenditure plan. 30 million has been budgeted for ICT hardware and software as per the National Education Conference Implementation Plan. You realize I've indicated that one of the levers of change is digital transformation. Objective number 4 of the ICT of our implementation plan, which is to improve access to universal inclusive digital learning aimed at expanding the supply of ICT infrastructure to all schools and learning centers. It's according to this that we have allocated a budget of 750 per laboratory, which is earmarked by the ministry to purchase fixed computers for 42 schools nationwide this year, and the process is on. With around 3 laboratories per region, computer labs now we mean, the uninterrupted power supplies, network accessories, 40 desktop PCs, 1 teacher laptop, printer, and server will be included in a computer lab. All those that I'm breaking down now is all the equipment that we buy per laboratories, per one of those 42 laboratories. An additional budget of 3.2 million will be earmarked for the procurement of smart interactive screens for all the new 41 advanced subsidiary offering schools. These screens, let me explain them. It's a big screen, interactive, which is used to connect school to school, teacher to teacher, learner to learner, education officer to teachers. Meaning, an education officer can sit at an office in the regional office, but give a continuous professional development course to all the other AS teachers in Namibia. This is how we are trying to improve on the quality of teaching and learning. These are additional now, meaning now the 41 that we are buying are additional to 85 interactive screens, which we rolled out already in 2021. So we are doing it step by step, but we are encouraging schools to seriously use these interactive screens and also be efficient. Instead of an education officer running from circuit to circuit, bring the circuit teachers at one center, AS center, sit in your office and interact with your children. With your teachers. Teacher and learners, sit where you are and interact with your learners. teacher to teacher, sit at different schools and interact with each other in sharing, information regards the subject. The other thing, practical subjects in schools. When we are saying practical subjects, we mean schools that require practical exercises and practical examinations. These are subjects precisely science-related subjects like chemistry, physics, and then vet-related pre-vocational subjects in our schools, and then also the basic pre-vocational subjects in the special schools, which you call resource schools now. Now, 14 million has been budgeted for all these subjects. As we all know for now, the curriculum reform ensured the reintroduction of expanded science subjects, for example, chemistry, physics, and also the pre-vocational subjects, many of them at selected schools in all the regions. To this effect, 14 million has been budgeted to resource technical work rooms and science laboratories. NIED was tasked to identify and allocate funds to the target schools, of which the funds were transferred already to the schools. We want every school to make sure that come January, all these materials are bought. Day one of teaching, let the teachers already start training children practically and not wait for the examination in order for children to be introduced to practical, equipments and perishables. Let us do that. Where we are failing to get the materials that we require, schools, please approach your regions for assistance through your circuit inspectors. The regional office, through the chief and senior education officers, were to verify that consumables and equipment are indeed procured. So our education officers are running around to ensure that schools have got these materials. And where it's not done, I urge the education officers to please make sure that this equipment are at schools. Documents as proof were to be submitted through the regional office to NIED by the end of September 2023, and we are not receiving all of them up to now, but we are in the process of making sure that these materials are bought. I am making it clear to our schools that these funds are not for savings, they are not investment or other, but solely for the purpose of acquiring consumables and equipments to ensure practical learning for our learners. NIED officials are to conduct spot checks on a sample of schools in order for us to make sure that no money is saved or invested at schools while our children don't have what they are supposed to have. The allocation of funds depended on the number of practical subjects offered at senior secondary school. As I said, for example, biology, chemistry, physics, computer science, home science, and technical subjects. For schools with a certified basic pre-vocational skills, it also depended on a number of practical subjects. When we talk of basic pre-voc, to differentiate it from the other pre-vocational subjects, basic pre-vocational subjects are offered at resource schools where children with disabilities are. And this is what they do. Classroom construction. The ministry is well aware of the shortages of classrooms across the country and the negative impact it has on our teaching and learning. As of the end of 2022, the total classroom needs or backlog across the country stood at over 4,000 classrooms. Nonetheless, the ministry have secured 255 million to construct 510 classrooms and 70 ablution blocks through August 26 Construction Company within a period of 4 months. It was indeed a milestone this year. What is worrisome is that regions have classroom needs and we have learners being taught in tents and other makeshift structures, but when the projects are allocated to regions now and money are transferred, especially to our regional councils, there are always delays and bureaucracy for some of our regional councils and our officials in getting these projects off the ground. We have experienced it this year, where some regions had schools, learners being taught under tents, while the money lied in the regional councils. That's a fact and should not be repeating itself. A case in point is that some regions still haven't completed the COVID-19 projects, something which is worrisome and should not continue. As a result of an acute shortage of classrooms, children of pre-primary schools age do not go to school and only join school at grade 1 level. This lack of foundation formation results in children lagging behind in terms of numeracy and cognitive skills acquisition, which might affect their entire school career, the importance of the 1,000 days of the child. That's why we need to build more and more classrooms, and as I said, these classrooms have started already, and where we are starting now, we are starting at 98% of completion of these classrooms that we started only in May, not in May, June, July. So they will be ready for school when the school reopens. Maybe we will not have too much crowding in some schools, although this is an ongoing crisis. School furnitures. It is also worth noting that 24.5 million has been budgeted for school furnitures, and the funds were equitably transferred to the regions for them to procure furnitures for the newly constructed 510 classrooms and others under August 26 company. And as the record that I'm having, many of the regions are in the process of purchasing school furnitures. And what is good, what is really heart-soothing is that many of these furnitures are being produced by our own VTCs and COSDETs and the National Youth Service. We are engaging them to do our classrooms, our furnitures. School feeding, an amount of 130 million has been budgeted for 2023-2024 financial year, and the ministry is ready to feed the learners. Come January 2024, the food will be available. The aim of school feeding is to contribute to equitable access to quality learning and education for all Namibian children. School feeding is a significant safety net, addressing hunger, especially for food-insecure households. The focus is on the health and nutrition of learners through the provision of fortified maize meal, which contributes to their ability to function optimally in schools. A total of 461,829 primary school learners are currently benefiting from the program, and this number is expected to increase given the increase in learner enrollment for 2023. And also, we are really considering also expanding this feeding to secondary, because the same children that we feed at primary continue to secondary coming from the same household which need food. In order to strengthen health and nutrition through the diversified food meals, the government of the Republic of Namibia is partnering the UN World Food Programme and is currently piloting what we call homegrown school feeding program in 7 out of 14 regions, and we have spent 3.5 million to date in introducing this program of the homegrown school feeding program. The ministry is prioritizing school meals because there is a fundamental need now than ever before to protect the most vulnerable children from hunger and malnutrition, ensuring opportunity and equal access to quality and inclusive education for all children, grow local economy coupled with food security and poverty reduction at household and community levels. Why are we saying so? Why are we talking about local economy growth, food security at household? The homegrown school feeding program is where we are demanding schools also to have their gardens, and we are saying the communities should also come up with their own, smallholder farmers should also come up with their own projects to produce food come up with their, gardens in their lands and produce some maybe tomatoes or whatever vegetables to schools in order for us to enhance the nutritional level of the schools. In such a way, the livelihood of also the communities will be improved because they'll be able to sell to schools, and also they'll be able to sell to each other, and they'll be able to improve on their own nutritional value. So looking forward, we want to be working together with the extension services of the Ministry of Agriculture to really encourage community members to produce food and sell to schools, because so far it's going a bit slow. With the pilot program that we have started, we see a lot of improvements need to take place. Ladies and gentlemen, one other thing that I need to touch, the second last, is the issue of admissions to pre-primary, grade 1, grade 8, grade 10, and to advanced subsidiary level. And this one, I would just say, the admissions has already taken place. At the time that was announced, the admissions has taken place. But come January, when the schools reopen, we want, please, parents to take children to schools where they were admitted. It's not for parents to again start and looking for other schools where they feel comfortable with, but for the parents to take the children where they were admitted. Those children that are not placed yet, what we usually do, we take the names and put them on the list and keep them at the second office, and as the school reopens, the placement continues for us to know where do we have still space. So we want our parents to come and report whatever case of a child not admitted at the regional offices, and especially second offices which are close to them, because we want to make sure that every child is at school, no matter how the classrooms are full, because we know of this fact, but we are saying all children must go to school. National examinations is the last. We started with our examinations, Namibia Senior Secondary Certificate Ordinary, and Namibia Senior Secondary Certificate Advanced Subsidiary on the 16th of October, and the exams will end on the 23rd of November. We are almost finished, and we would like to thank our parents for the support they've given to our children throughout the year, and our teachers for really working so hard, and for our regional directorates for having come up with the regional improvement strategies. And we believe a lot has happened to improve on our results, and we are looking forward to better results come January 2024. The marking exercise commenced already on the 27th of October. Our teachers are there busy marking, and will end on the 12th of December with the exclusion of the grade review and period and many other things that should happen before the results are released. The envisaged date now for the release of the results is 5 January, if all goes well. That's what we are earmarking. On the 5th of January, we should be able to release the results for ordinary and advanced subsidiary. In case of any disruption or eventuality that might cause a delay with the administration, the results might be released on the 12th of January 2024. Thank you for listening to me. Namibia, I thank you.
Thank you, Honourable Minister, for that very comprehensive update from your ministry. It's quite refreshing to hear about the activities that your ministry is undertaking, and it is specifically relieving to hear about the government's efforts on procuring stationeries, food, furniture, ICT materials, and school admission, etc. It is very highly appreciated, Honourable Minister. And the following segment is now reserved for the media. If we have journalists in the House that are looking forward to engaging the Honourable Minister, this is your chance. Please make use of the opportunity. You can walk up onto the podium and present your questions, introduce yourself briefly, and the media house you are representing. Okay. Okay, we have some. All right. Just simply your name, the media house you're representing, and briefly present your questions to the Honorable Minister.
Good morning, Honorable Minister. My name is Petrus Namadiko. I'm an audiovisual journalist from NAMPA, Namibia Press Agency. Honorable Minister, during your presentation, you mentioned quality education. Quality education. How can one define quality education? Because if we look at where we stand now with the fourth industrial revolution and also the engagement of ICT, a lot of educators or a lot of learners who are in rural areas who have no access to electricity. So how can one define quality education in this process, at this stage where we are right now? And also, Honorable Minister, you also emphasized on school grants. Maybe you have to explain more, elaborate more on the principals at different schools, because maybe they don't understand what school grant is for. And also, you also said voluntary contribution to the schools. Because if we look back, a lot of parents have complained to the media mostly and also to the schools, because the schools return their kids back home because they did not contribute a certain amount to the school. So how can we address that? Because now you stated that it's a volunteer contribution, but maybe the principals also don't understand that this is voluntary. If a parent says that I don't have money, I don't have income for me to also contribute to my child education, is it necessary for my child to be sent back home? Those are the few questions I have. And also with infrastructure, you also mentioned that the ministry has built close to 1,000 or so, if I'm not mistaken, classrooms. But also if we look also into other regions now, regions where we go deep in the farms, at the villages, you also mentioned that kids are still being taught in tents. So why cannot the ministry, with the budget that they get, also invest to those different villages where kids are still taught in tents to where we are right now? We are in 2023, but still kids are being taught in tents. What is the reason for that? And why cannot the ministry really take a portion of the money that the ministry gets and say, for this year, we are also focusing on us building schools for these regions or for these villages who kids, because you said quality education. How can we achieve quality education if we are not really practicing quality education? Because there is no quality education in that if a kid is being taught in under a tent and also is not receiving the same education with the others who are being taught here. Because you also mentioned that learner to teacher where there will be interaction through a digital platform with the big screen that you mentioned. So now, are we leaving those ones out who are at the villages with the new technology that has been introduced? That's all the questions I have, Minister.
Thank you very much.
Thank you. Thank you for the questions, Honorable Minister. You can either respond to the questions yourself.
Yeah, I left my pen there now. I didn't note. Okay. Thank you very much for your questions. Definitely, they are all valid questions. The first question was about quality related to ICT, Industrial Revolution. If you listen very carefully to my speech, it was to explain how we are rolling out programs that we know would continue enhancing quality education. One thing that I want us to take note of is that education improvement is not a one day off. Education transformation definitely is a step-by-step exercise depending on the available resources. Because you only have one basket, which is the treasury of this government. That basket is the only one that we have. Whatever we get, we put it where we think, as we told you, according to the plan that we have now, infrastructure is one aspect. Where we know that if we improve on infrastructure construction, the quality of education will improve. We do not want our children to start only at grade 1 level and not go through a pre-primary. We do not want our children to be taught under overcrowded classrooms. We do not want to find a child without a classroom taught under a tent. You understand what I mean? So it's an ongoing process. And for your information, when it comes to infrastructure, since 2022, we have developed what we call an accelerated infrastructure development plan, documented. It's in our ministry, which is indicating, that's why in my speech you heard me saying, since 2021, the backlog was up to 4,000 classrooms. And this is a backlog that came from many years. And this is what we want to tackle head on. That's why we are saying Cabinet has already approved the implementation plan. That's why we are saying already Cabinet, through the budget allocation, has already approved for us to build 500 classrooms of the 4,000 that we are talking about. Although the 4,000 is a backlog. Every year, the numbers of learners increase, you need more classrooms. So it's an ongoing exercise. Yeah. So as you rightly said, there are still far rural schools without infrastructure. And we are moving towards that. Already now, this week, we are discussing the budget review, midterm review, where we have already presented to Minister of Finance to say, Minister, we still need money to start immediately now in November already, so that by March at least we have built, it's not 500, 700 classrooms to make up for the 1,000 classrooms, 1,200 that we have set ourselves to achieve. Coming to ICT, yes, ICT is one of our legs that we are running with, digital transformation. The smart boards we are talking about are mainly meant for senior secondary. We didn't roll out to far rural schools yet. But as you heard, I said we are busy rolling out also with the money we have. You cannot do anything, everything once off. Every year you get this money, you continue expanding on what you have started. So this year we have started with 42 computer laboratories, which are going to be equipped with all the equipments that I've indicated. We are going to roll it out year after year, because the plan now that we are implementing, we want by the 2030 at least to have reached most of the school with IT equipment. When it comes to the grants, yes, you might find a principal who might say, I don't know what the grant is for, but I do not really want to agree to that. Maybe it's just a way of people's doing things. Nobody would not know what the grants for when they are sent to your school. Yeah? So the grants are there definitely to improve on teaching and learning at school, to make sure that everything that is needed at school for teaching and learning to take place, they are there. It's only now, as I said, for our principals, our inspectors, our education officers, really to ensure that it's not for investment, as I said, it's for them to be used. Even if I come to your school and you say, now I have got zero budget, but you will tell me that all this money, I have bought all these things. Now our children have got all the equipment. I will not ask you, where is the money? But if I come to your school and you are telling me the school doesn't have anything, and I go to your book, it has got 500,000, I will be very, very disappointed. So I believe I have touched on all the questions that were put. Did I leave something?
Maybe the type of voluntary contribution.
Yeah, voluntary contribution. That's how we call it. Because we are saying parents cannot be hands off now. If we say free education, in fact, education has been free all along. Why? This was just a matter of strengthening, or maybe, how do I call it? Discouraging some ways of exclusion from schools by some principals. Because what we had as school development fund was still voluntary. not necessarily voluntary, it was a policy, but there were ways of exempting parents. If you have got like 3 children, pay for 1 or leave 2. Or if you have got 4, pay for 2, you don't pay for the other ones. If you don't have money, bring a bag of maize or mahangu, I'll take it. A chicken, I'll take it. So, when it comes to voluntary contribution, it doesn't mean hands off. Also, it doesn't mean if you cannot, the child must be excluded from educational programs. It is not allowable, it is illegal, even constitutionally illegal. That's why every parent who finds their child excluded from education because of failure to contribute, please approach your director in education. Don't even wait to call the minister. Nowadays, everybody has the minister's phone. And I don't sleep. We are decentralized. Let them go to the education officers, the inspectors, the directors, and say, my child is sitting at home, not going to school because he didn't bring toilet paper to school. And the parents also. Now, when we are saying children should not be excluded, we do not mean you do not do it deliberately to say, since the child cannot be, refuse to go to school, I will not do it, even if you can. What you can as a parent, do it. Education is for all. Schools that are doing well in this country is where parents really, put in their effort and do whatever they want, even without being asked to their schools. So we are saying parents should contribute, but voluntary means if they cannot, it should not be leaving the parents to jump now on the shoulder of the child. Child don't come to school because you didn't bring this, and the child stays for a week. The others are taught, the child is at home because he's waiting for the parents to get this one. They get it. Child go back to school. The others has already gone far with the lessons.
Absolutely.
You understand?
Yes.
Yes.
Now, thank you, Honorable Minister, for your time. We have run out of time completely. And Namibia, that is all the time we had for today's discussion. Please do join us on our social media platforms. Become part of the GIC family. And from myself, Hileni Philippa Samuela, and the entire GIC production crew, until next time, goodbye, Namibia.